This is weird. Why did the caption suddenly turn into another language? What happened here? Okay. I thought maybe I had an English that would turn into. And I guess I'll just stick this at the end. Like, I was so confused. I was so confused. Like, I literally had to recalibrate myself. Like, because you never know. I'm screen recording, man. I'm screen recording. Like, things happen. A lot of crap happens sometimes. So, like, you can get a screen. Well, one time I got, like, my Into Flesh, for instance, it has, like, Korean subtitles down there. It's in Korean or something. And so I can roll with it. But I thought what it meant was if they were putting subtitles down there. Oh, wait, you know what was that English? Were they speaking English? Like, I was so, like, this is so wild to me, man. Like, hold on. Like, you get into a zone here. Let me listen to this. Let's listen to this together, shall we? This is English. This, like, I did not hear that as English. You want to hear something wild? Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. I did not hear that as English. I was not receiving that as English the first time we went through this. Like, I didn't process that I was hearing English. I'm so used to just tuning out the foreign language, listening to the cadences, because I can't understand Japanese, right? So I listen to rising, falling voices, tone of voice, maybe kind of recognize who's speaking from like their voice because I'm used to it like 15, 16 episodes. I'm not listening to the voices on this show for content. So I did not grasp that we were getting English, and that's why we were getting Japanese subtitles. Even though at the same time I'm like, why are we getting Japanese subtitles? So I thought maybe like I was watching the dub, and I know this dub versus sub thing is very important to so many people. I don't know why. I will never understand in anime why people care so much. Like, the translation cannot possibly be that bad. Like, I've mentioned this before. I think it's an issue where it's like if you hear a song and they use a certain word choice, you hear that like 1,000 times, and then suddenly you hear the song and the words are slightly different. Like, you're gonna feel, for instance, no, I am your father. Like when Darth Vader tells Luke he's your father. It's like, no, you killed my father. No, I am your father. What if he suddenly were watching that scene and said, no, I'm your dad? That would feel wrong. That would feel off. But it's not. It's the same damn thing. It's the exact same message. You're getting across the same point. It's the same effing message. I'm your dad or I'm your father is the same effing message. But I think some of these people are so used to hearing I'm your father that if they hear I'm your dad, they get mad. Like, it's no, this is unacceptable. We can't have this. It has to be I'm your father. That's what I think this sub versus dub thing is. I honestly do. Now, am I an expert? No, I'm not. I'm just getting into anime. I'm just saying my impression. Maybe there are some really, really bad translations out there. I'm open to the possibility. But I just doubt that everybody is incompetent. You're telling me everybody who translates shows from one language to another, they're all incompetent. There's no competent translators out there. That's what you're telling me. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But I mean, I guess I'm a little passionate about this. But it's just I don't. What I'm saying is I don't understand why people are so passionate about this whole sub versus dub thing. I don't like. Who cares? But like, people want me to do one, I'll do one. I don't care. Like, want me to do the sub? I'm finding I'm probably better with the dub. In fact, there's a couple of shows like live action shows I'm going to refuse to do if it's a dub. If it's not a dub, if it has to be a sub, I'm just not going to do it because it's hard for me to read and talk at the same time. And this is a reaction challenge. You have to talk. If you're sitting there the whole time, we might as well just watch it separately and then do a video essay afterwards, right? So there has to be some communication while you're recording. If that happens, there's going to be some things I miss because I'm trying to read and talk at the same time, and I'm not going to retain the information. Look at what just happened here. This is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Like, it's just wild to me that this has been a bizarre experience. Like, I need to get back and actually do a reaction to this episode. That's fine. But like, if I could, just explore this a little bit further. I'm all over the place. Let me first put a pin on what I was just saying. So, personally, I think the sub versus dub thing is overwrought in a lot of cases. There are extreme examples where like it's perfectly the translation is just god awful. I believe that probably happens. But we got to be talking about 25% or less because you can't tell me everybody's incompetent. So there's that. On the other hand, I think there's also some people that like just if one slight thing has changed, that they fly off the handle. Like Han Solo fired first or whatever. No, Greedo fired first. Oh my God, let's get out the pitchforks. Yeah, that was a stupid change. Anyway, to get back to the original point, it's like you have two bottles here, okay, and one bottle has like soda, and the other bottle has water, and you reach for what you think is going to be the soda, and then you grab the water and you put it in your mouth. So you think you're going to receive soda, and actually what you receive is water. We've all done it. It's like I had this conversation with a friend of mine last week. This happened to him. The water didn't taste real. He almost tasted soda for a second, but it didn't feel right. And he actually choked on it a little bit. He's like, what the hell is this? And he realized his brain, his mind, that was completely committed to the concept. He was putting soda in his mouth, and then water went in instead. That blew his mind. His brain like shut off for a second, and he had to reboot his brain. He had to get it back up, because he couldn't process the fact he was drinking water instead of soda, because he was so convinced he was going to be getting soda. Like you've seen these videos where it looks like an animal, and then they take a knife and they cut it in half, and it turns out it's actually cake. We've all seen those, or cake, or like something, pudding, or whatever it is, right? It's candy. It's something, probably candy, right? They cut it, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like a hamster anymore. Suddenly it just looks like, okay, it's cake, or a person, or a tongue, or I've seen a plate, and knife, and fork with some eggs. They cut it in half, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like the knife, fork, and eggs anymore. It's just cake, right? It blows your mind for a second. I could not process that I was hearing English. I couldn't process it. Like my mind, it shorted out my brain. So my brain was convinced that I don't know what I was hearing, but what I was seeing down here was subtitles. So I was like, okay, well, I must have screen recorded the wrong thing, right? I screen recorded the wrong thing. So it blew my mind. So then that's why, then once we got to like where the people were actually talking to each other, then things returned to normal. My equilibrium returned. I was like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay. So then I understood, right? Wow, I'm exhausted. But what I think happened though was, like what I was talking about, where you think you're drinking soda, but you actually drink water. My brain was just not expecting English. It just wasn't expecting English. So it refused to believe that English was coming into its ears and was trying to make it something else. Damn, that's interesting. I've never had an experience like that. You can't manufacture this experience, because if I tell you, okay, don't expect English or whatever your language is, right? You're going to expect it. I wonder if this is what it's like. I know a lot of people that like watch my stuff speak more than one language, like German, English. I think there's some people over in Asia. They probably speak 3 or 4 languages. Is this what it's like? Like if you walk in a room and you think you're going to be speaking German and somebody hits you with English all of a sudden, does it take your brain a second to like, wait a minute? Oh yes, this is what we're doing. Do you have to have them repeat the first sentence, or do you just automatically switch? It doesn't matter. So you're speaking English for a while, and somebody just hits you with some German, or they hit you with some Mandarin Chinese, or they hit you with some Japanese, or you're speaking Japanese, and suddenly maybe you also speak Chinese. They suddenly hit you with Chinese. Does it take your brain? Do you have to have them repeat it? Does it take your brain? Because your brain's not expecting this other language you speak. Does that happen, or is that not a thing? I don't know. I only speak one language. But if you know, like if you have anything to say about that, let me know. I'm very interested in that, because I've always wanted to. I've never had time, but I've always wanted to learn another language, and I wonder if you can just switch back and forth. It's like nothing, It's just like flipping a switch, Very curious about that. Anyway, I guess I'm just gonna make this like this separate video, but with a little side rant about sub versus dub, which I don't actually care that much about. Honestly, despite the appearances, I don't really care that much about it. I just find it interesting. But the main point of this is, this show just short circuited my brain. I'm gonna have to go take a nap now.